Hi, I'm Bob Alfieri from GK Calls. We're here in Kingsville, Ontario today to help celebrate the 100th anniversary of Jack Miner. Today I have Kirk Miner, who is the grandson of Jack and director of the foundation. He's going to take us on a tour of the museum.
Just so to acquaint you with where we are exactly, Kingsville is the most southern town in Canada. We're halfway between Detroit, Michigan and Sandusky, Ohio. My grandfather, Jack Miner, was born in the suburbs of Cleveland, now Westlake, Ohio, in 1878. And when he was 13 years of age, in 1878, he moved over here to Kingsville. He was born in 1865. He came with his father here, and they purchased 10 acres of clay. All the brick, you see them, including the Martin House here, the clubhouse, the different ponds. Everything was built from taking 3 feet of clay to manufacture brick and tile in the late 1800s. That was his business. 1904, after experiencing a series of tragedies the prior 7 years, losing two of his children, Pearl and Carl, and a close brother, Ted, in a moose hunting accident, there was a conversion from, he was a market hunter, and he was seeing less and less migratory ducks and geese, and he wondered what he could do about it. This is in 1904, started going to church, and he flooded a clay pit, which we'll see later, over next to the museum, and purchased 7 live geese to act as decoys, and he thought maybe he could intercept a flock or two of migratory Canadas coming back from the Carolinas. This is before the refuge, any of the refuge system, 1904. And it took him 4 years. 1908, 11 geese circled from a mile up and joined the original 7. In 1909, 26 landed. In 1910, 400. And all they knew about ducks and geese then at that stage was they went north in the summertime and south in the winter, but they didn't know where or when or how far. And so he captured a black duck next to his pond, and he put his post office box 48 Kingsville, and this is in the fall of 1909. In January 1910, that duck was shot by a hunter in Anderson, South Carolina, and the band was returned, and that's given credit as the first complete record of where a duck was tagged and where and when it was shot. And then through, by 1916, he had tabulated thousands of returns from his duck banding, and this was instrumental in the migratory bird treaty between the U.S. and Canada in 1916. But anyway, this is where it's all started as far as the refuge system. Jack Miner is given credit as the founder of the Waterfowl Refuge Management System in 1904, and the first person to tag a duck or goose to trace its routes in 1909.
Kirk, tell us about this Ty Cobb field behind us.
In the early 1900s, the most famous 2 Detroiters were Henry Ford and Ty Cobb. And Ty'd come up from Georgia, and he was a feisty individual, still fighting the Civil War, and everybody, his friends, are going up there with the damn Yankees. And he, being an avid sportsman in 17 years of age, I think, when he cut in with the Tigers, but he loved to hunt ducks in Georgia in the South, and especially like South Carolina. He called the sanctuary. We didn't call. This is the way the story was told to me. He called my Uncle Manley at the sanctuary and said, "You want to come over and see them birds? You want to come over and see them birds?"
This is when he was playing for the Tigers?
When he was playing for the Tigers. So he came over here in a friendship. Even though my granddad was a little older, he was kind of like a surrogate father to Ty when he was away from home. He'd take him on moose hunting. He loved to go moose hunting up north of the Sioux, and there's pictures here of them tenting and going through, and he set this baseball field. Of course, we went down to Point Pelee in 1913 and got these. These were little cedars, and now they're They're pretty well had their day here next to the Martin house.
Yeah.
But he set out this baseball diamond for the local children to play ball. And my granddad always said if you had the kids running off their excess energy here, they wouldn't go downtown Kingsville and get into trouble. So he'd rather have them
That's great.
Playing baseball here. And so Ty, he was great friends with my father Jasper, and he tried to do what my dad played some AAA ball when he was in his late teens, but he got homesick. And but the family would go over to had a lifetime pass to the Ty Cobb box at
Really?
at Tiger Stadium. My dad talks about having a fire going here and having, this was his bedroom that he closed off as a 5-year-old boy in this corner here of the clubhouse. But it's kind of a unique building. This is the table where all the employees at the brick and tile manufacturing plant would sit, sometimes with Henry Ford and Ty Cobb. It's the same table. So there's a lot of history in the place. Different premier of Ontario was here helping us tag ducks. Mike Harris a few years ago. Larry Robinson, the Hall of Famer for Montreal Canadiens, was here. This picture, there's what, if you wonder what the brick and tile plant looked like 100 years ago, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was used up and active up to the Depression in the 30s. That was it. That was right across the pond here, and that's the whole ball of wax where this clay is going through in a system to be heated and baked and becoming brick and tile, because naturally no counties are as flat as Essex County. And when the pioneers came in the late 1800s, it was all wooded area, so they had to get the water from a foot above the ground, 6 inches above the ground, to out to the lakes, to Detroit River, Lake St. Clair, and Lake Erie. And it was these drainage tiles, a variety of which I'll show you in the museum, out. And the school buses and the schools and the churches had to be built, and the houses, so the brick was in demand. So basically it was the old philosophy, find a need and fill it. Because Point Pelee Marsh is so close, they think that Jack Miner had a natural marsh area for his ducks and geese, and they're surprised. Henry Ford came here, when he first came here, with a set of waders to wade through the marsh to peer out at ducks and geese, but when he walked along out here in street shoes, he was amazed. So they're amazed that they come here. You don't see there's no marsh or cattails, and it's all just it's a flooded brick and tile yard. We'll have the grade 7s and 8s from the Jack Miner Public School participate in our banding. They get to take the morning off when they're banding, when we're tagging birds, and they'll teacher, the principal approves it, and they can come down here and pick up the ducks and the geese in the catching pen, where we'll go to later, and help and hold the birds while we put on the aluminum bands with the pliers. So it's part of even PhDs in biology and wildlife management. A lot of them, master's and PhD degrees, haven't tagged and released waterfowl themselves, because it's so hard to do. Like a lot of it, especially in our operation where they're moving through. A lot of it is done when the birds are molting, like right late July up in Akamiski, southern James Bay. They get the birds when they can't fly and put on the orange collars for the migratory lessers up there in late July. But we catch ours all in the fall, October and November, when the birds are going through. And I'll show you how that happens later, how we're able to do that when they're in full flight. This was originally a horse and buggy stable. There's a picture inside here, but it wasn't converted until 1977. But this is, I mentioned, most of the brick at the sanctuary and the clubhouse we were just at, and the home is all from the Jack Miner manufacturing plant. This isn't. This is new brick in '77. It was a horse and buggy stable, and it started to. It was gonna be history if something hadn't been done with it. So my Uncle Banley, he was kind of he saved everything that he could of Jack Miner, all the newspaper clippings. So he had them all put together, and converted to a museum, and got a group of 25 ladies, and they all assembled it, and we'll show you upstairs. There's about a 50-volume set of the Jack Miner papers. So we can go in there and look around. There's famous people that have visited the sanctuary in addition to Ty Cobb and Henry Ford, Queen Juliana, and Sir Peter Scott went back to England, and if you see this extreme west side of the house, it was all glassed in, so Granddad could see his count with his binoculars, count his ducks and geese, and feed them on the bottom, and they'd flip up in the air and count the number that were banded. But Sir Peter Scott went back to England and modeled, did one just based on the Jack Miner observatory. Come on in, guys. All right. This was Granddad's rose arbor here, back in the, oh, he'd be 65 there.
I read that
close to 19.
that he loved flowers.
Loved flowers.
Yeah.
He had a saying of, if it wasn't for birds, flowers, children, and music, I would have no desire to carry on. Here's the sample of the brick. It says Carl Miner, 1900. I mentioned that he was one of the two children, Carl and Pearl. His brother Ted that passed away in that time frame between 1897 and 1904, when there was a conversion. And this one here I mentioned, unveiled by Governor Rhodes in 1977 on Dover Center Road. Dover Center became Westlake, Ohio, West Cleveland, and this is Jack Miner's birthplace marker. Here is anyone who wants to take that. I think it's exit 9 off the Ohio Turnpike in Cleveland. Dover Center Road, Westlake. This display has a lot of the correspondence with Henry Ford and Stanley Kresge that founded Kmart, and the Mellons of Pittsburgh that were also interested in the work of Jack Miner. This particular display here is some of the early tagging that's displayed by Henry Ford. Some of the early banding worn when the bands were recovered, and you can see where they're going on up here in the Quebec side of southern James Bay, going right down here to the Gulf of Mexico. We have had teal bands here returned from Cuba and South America, so they go a little farther. When Granddad died in 1944, Manley, the oldest, handled the business, and he tried to keep the promotion and the fundraising going, handling the office. And my dad, Jasper, was out meeting and greeting the people and responsible for the banding. So they kind of worked together. It was a good union it was a good business marriage, because the two weren't in each other's hair in an office, which it probably wouldn't have worked. But they separated the responsibilities and got the job done for the next 50 years. Without the dedication, probably for very little financial gain, they kept the vision of Granddad going, of no admission fees, and the place, nothing sold on the property, and the place kept closed Sunday. And it's a unique place where people can come and even if they're out of work, and come to Jack Miner's and feed the birds and they don't have any money, they still get to visit. I don't think there's any places like that left today. So this fellow, Mr. Bryson, collected a band from every year that Granddad, starting with S15, 15, 16, 17. Can you imagine hand stamping these one letter at a time? You know how that would be in the evening. And
some old timers on there. There's a lot of stamping.
Yeah. The Indians say, I send him leg and all, so him know where I got the band. We had some mourning doves. There's teal and mourning doves. I mentioned earlier that Jack Miner only had 3 months of public school,
education. He couldn't read or write till his mid-30s. He was dragged away by his father. He wouldn't go to school, so he worked in the brick and tile yard. But as he approached, he eventually learned to read and write. And at age 65, he was encouraged to write down by friends and family his life story. So he dictated to his son Manly, who copied it. Actually, he wrote it originally on the brown paper, and then it became longhand by his son Manly. So 1969, an interested party in Florida donated the money for the initial publishing. So it's still available, and it was in paperback and hardback. For those that want to read it, should be at your local library. This kind of might look interesting, especially in this day and age where people just walk geese when they're molting. But this was taken in November, a catch of 700. These are all Southern James migratory lesser Canadas, Southern James Bay population from Akamiski Island, Moosonee, Ottawapiskat, Southern James Bay. Dodged all the Cree Indians and landed at November Jack Miner's Pond, either to the north or the south, and were enticed underneath the net with barley and shelled corn. But to get a catch of 700 under this 40 feet by 120, you can see the wing walls dropping at 45 degrees here. I don't think we've done it since. So now it's kind of, I don't think we're tagging that many geese in a whole season. So anyway, a lot of people just look at this and think it's, no, but you try to do that. If you try to get 700 geese under there, no, the hunters know how tough that would be to get 700 geese to come to their decoys, and that's it's kind of just as hard to get them underneath that net. When they don't spook each other, that you could lose half of them by the time you got your hand on the trigger to drop the sides.
This stadium's been up, not many people remember. I'm getting older. The older people remember maybe walking up a rickety old stairs. This is back in the 50s, 60s. Stood about here where there's about a third of this size, where you could view the rear ponds and the geese from an elevation of maybe 20 feet up in the air. And my dad kept talking, wouldn't it be nice if we had something like behind home plate at Tiger Stadium where you could stay dry and see the geese, and I could do my talks here and listen, explain a little of the history. So 4 ladies from Toronto, in memory of their father, Stuart Playfair, paid for this building in 1973. Come back here, you'll see pictures even in Wild Goose, that documentary of the geese coming. These are pretty well the same canals that they were.
This is where the clay came out for the bricks, right?
That's exactly what created these. What created the holes here, what created the pits. If he couldn't get them underneath the net, if they were spooky, he'd be out the next day. My dad would tell me Granddad would be out spreading corn, shelled corn and barley all over the net just to get them feeding, eh? And then he would move the cafeteria closer and closer till then he'd put the bite on them. The final night there'd be no. The night he was going to make his catch, there'd be no spread barley and corn here. It'd be all under, the cafeteria would be moved under the frame. But I showed you that picture in the museum when I mentioned the 2 trees. That was what it was like when I was a kid, but it's still basically the same principle. The wire with these 8 trigger props. See, this last one's been pulled off of here, but it's not going anywhere because we got one of these sticks, these orange sticks to hold it. But what happens with these 8 props, they go under and we watch from the hide. See the window up there? Yeah. What'd be really good is to get up there and just get behind us and watch when we pull it, and the wing walls in less than half a second will just drop here at 45 degrees and be flush with this plank right here. And then your birds are enclosed in here, and you can we'll walk them up a ramp. We just redid this. We just rebuilt this whole thing here with used to be wood Here's how we get in to the big nest.
Okay.
There's steps down there.
How old is this? How old is this structure here?
It's almost 100 years old.
Wow.
1915.
Wow.
Basically like the original. It's been modified
Yeah.
a couple things. And then if you come in here in the catching pen, okay.
Okay, so the ramp's down. Oh,
Okay, the
I
ramp's
see.
down. Just this wing wall has been down here flush with this, so this
Uh-huh.
is all down. We walk in over there. About 3 or 4 of us with our hands up, and we get the birds, the geese, and the ducks walking this corner. Then they get this corner, they can't go any farther. They'll turn, walk up this ramp, and the birds will be enclosed here for banding. Then we get the grade 7s and 8s from Jack Miner Public School. We'll get this back up.
That's great.
This is grade 7s and 8 students. We'll have Joe works with us down at this end with one pair of pliers. I'll be at this end, and his students, once they get their bird banded, they let it goes out that door.
Oh, no kidding.
Because these are sharp,
Uh-huh.
the birds, the ducks, we used to have a little cage like this, but and put a little block of wood with a screen on it. But it seemed like once we took it off, the ducks would get wise and be flying out of there.
Huh.
So we cut this pointed like jagged, and it's funny how the ducks don't fly into this at all. They just they won't try to get out because they must think it's gonna be sharp or something.
I'll be darned.
So it kind of works, and then I'll be working down at this end, and they let the student grade 7s and 8s they'll release it. It's funny how the ducks will take off right away. We'll have them shot in Sandusky, Ohio, maybe later that day, or
Wow.
these guys out at Lake Erie or Hillman Marsh or later that day. And some of them go back north to have them shot the next day at Harson's Island.
Really? Wow.
Not all of them are going south.
Yeah.
But we've had them 4 days later in Huntsville, Alabama.
Jeez.
So they can, depending on the wind. Like today,
Yeah.
the north wind, they probably would go south.
That's something.
Anyway, that's basically it's a simple concept. It's just everybody makes it difficult. It's just you know, how do you catch them? It's almost like they catch themselves, but you're not going to catch them without hunger.
Right.
And if they're not coming in to feed, then you're not going to catch them.
Now, at different times of the year, do you feed them different, you know, like corn, barley, or you mix it, or?
No, it's mostly barley, but we get in the real cold weather outside, like they'll need the corn, the cob corn for more to stay.
Okay.
You know, if you get real zero weather.
Yeah.
But we won't trip this after it gets much below 15 to 18. It'll freeze too hard on the wing. You'll try to pull the net and it won't move just because it's frozen. So, and we'll have all the degreasers good to 40 below and try to get that. But it's still, ice is a difficult thing to play with when you try to get a catch because it'll screw you up somehow. One side we've had the south side come down and all the 500 geese swim out the north side.
Oh, no kidding.
You know, it not come down at all.
How many birds will this hold?
Well, you saw a picture of 700.
Yeah,
We've had
700.
catches up to 1,300.
I was going to say, it looked
My
like you still
brother
have
Rob
room
in
there,
high
yeah.
school in the 60s. Now that was when they were pretty hungry. There wasn't money to feed them and they came in here pretty hungry. I think he had a catch of 1,300.
Wow.
But we've banded 750 ducks or so in one catch.
No kidding. Kirk, thank you so much for the tour. We appreciate it very much, and we hope that this will enlighten some people and help the foundation out.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for purchasing the Jack Miner call and being a part of history. And I'd like to welcome, if you're ever in the area, across we're only 45 minutes from Detroit. If you're ever in the area, any day but Sunday, come and knock on the door and we'll show you around to the best of our ability. We're open 8 o'clock Monday through 5 o'clock Saturday, closed on Sunday in accordance with Granddad's wishes of no admission fee, nothing sold on the property, and the place kept closed Sunday. So thank you very much.